Hello, everyone. This is Jeffrey Kerr. From September 2nd through 14th, the national tour of Disney's Beauty and the Beast will be gracing the stage of the Durham Performing Arts Center. Today, I'm here with the actress taking on the role of Mrs. Potts. She has appeared on Broadway in Oklahoma, Nine, The Frogs, The Pirate's Queen, Next to Normal, A Gentleman's Guide to Love and Murder, Tuck Everlasting, and most recently, The Music Man. She's also previously been seen on tour as Christine Daaé in The Phantom of the Opera and Eva Perón in Evita. Please welcome Kathy Voytko.
Hi,
Before we officially begin this conversation, there's something I'd like to bring up if you don't mind.
no problem.
So I post pretty regularly in this Facebook group dedicated to Broadway history and nostalgia, and last year I did one in celebration of the 30th anniversary of Beauty and the Beast's opening and got reactions from a total of 37 fellow members, and one of them was from you.
Yes, I'm a fan of Beauty and the Beast. I couldn't be more excited that it's coming back.
To start things off, how are things going with the tour so far?
It's a delight. We are thrilled that the audiences are so hungry for our show. We have found that it's a great date night show, it's a great family show, and it is one of those shows that brings a whole lot of nostalgia to those of us who saw the movie when it originally came out, those of us who are old enough to remember it in the theater, and then those of us who saw it on Broadway in 1994, 95, and beyond. A lot of us have kids now and want to bring our own kids to see the show. So it's one of those stories that seems to have a wide appeal to a lot of audiences.
Well, yeah, in fact, I remember, a few years ago, Tom Schumacher, who's the head of Disney Theatrical, talked about how some of their Broadway shows, have not only proven to be, great outings for the family, but even date nights for, couples who grew up on the original films.
And Linda Wolverton, who wrote the original screenplay and who wrote the book for the musical, was in the rehearsal room with us. And she is amazing and decided to change a line just a little bit here and there to update it and make it have even more of a broad appeal. Or she said, that line I always wanted to sound like this, or I wanted to condense this scene and elongate this one. And it was a thrill to work with her in the rehearsal room. So this version of Beauty and the Beast is true to her original idea while being fresh and new to this audience.
And as someone who's been on tour before, how does this experience compare to the others?
Well, there's something about the Disney magic of our production, which is thrilling because a lot of people have a lot of questions and we cannot reveal the Disney magic, but we are thrilled to share it with this audience. This tour is gorgeous to look at, the sets and costumes and lighting and the choreography and the music. The orchestra sounds absolutely glorious in every city, and it's just been a joy to bring this story around. So we're thrilled to bring it to Durham.
Yeah, and you're going to be in Durham with this show for 2 weeks. How excited are you about that?
I'm thrilled actually because again, it's so nice to bring this show to different audiences. And every city that we've gone to thus far, and Durham is only our fourth city, has brought little girls in their belle dresses and boys in their Gaston and Beast costumes. And we've had some grown-ups do a little cosplay as well. And it's so fun to meet them at the stage door and enjoy how much they are enjoying the show.
Well, yeah, I even remember Susan Egan, who originated Belle on Broadway. She told a story of how one night when she came out in her big gold
School
dress,
dress, yes.
yeah, she came out, and one little girl who was in costume in the audience stand up on her seat, and she said, "She looks just like me." And oh, everyone laughed from the audience to people on stage from her, and even Terrence Mann laughed.
Well, we've had similar experiences, and it is actually a joy because you know how excited they are and how much they relate to the characters. And it's really lovely. Matt West, our director, added a little detail for Belle that when she reads, she puts on glasses. And so there've been so many Belles who come to the stage door and they have on their glasses, and it's just a heartwarming, that small detail that resonates with so many people who are glasses wearers. I think is really that kind of small detail that makes such a big difference for people who are enjoying the show.
Yeah, and for over 30 years, Disney's Beauty and the Beast has been, as you sing every night, a tale as old as time.
I
Do you,
do.
yeah, do you remember the first time you ever saw the original animated film?
I do. I saw it in the theater with my mom. And so I can honestly tell you that when this audition came and I got to sing that song at my audition, it chokes me up a little bit even still because I vividly remember seeing this in Pennsylvania in a small theater with my mom and just loving it. And I remember whispering to her, Mom, this should be on stage. And then I got, my wish came true when they actually converted it to be a full scale Broadway musical. So it's a delight. And I mean, singing the Tale as Old as Time, singing the title song is a joy every single night. And it is staged beautifully. Kira Bell Johnson, our Belle, and Fergie Philippe, who is our Beast, they get to do this beautiful choreography, and it is sweet and charming. And the fact that I get to sing it with my chips, Levi and B, beside me every night is a thrill. It's all I can say.
Well, yeah, I was about to ask what's it like for you getting to perform the title number every night, which, if you
Well,
ask one of my Facebook friends, it's the very best Oscar-winning song of all time, so you kind of took care of that.
I was nervous about it for sure because Angela Lansbury set the bar very, very, very high. Our fantastic crew, our director and choreographer and associate director, and our conductor, Dar, they all were very kind and sort of led me how they wanted it done while asking me to give my own spin to it. So it freed me up to just enjoy it and luxuriate in how lucky I am to get to sing that gorgeous song every day.
And this new touring production is directed by Matt West, who's no stranger to this particular property. He previously choreographed not only the original Broadway production, but also the truncated stage versions at the Disney parks. What is
Yes.
he like to work with?
Oh, it's fun to work with Matt because he has so many stories and so much to add to the layers of the story when you talk to him from his years of experience on the show. Like you said, he was the original choreographer, so he's thought about it and he's marinated on some of these characters with Linda Wolverton, the writer. And so anytime we asked a question or had a moment that was not feeling quite right, it was fun to bounce ideas off of him and off of Linda in the room. At the same time, he also gave us a little freedom to explore how we would portray this character and guided us to make sure it was authentic.
Well, yeah, and as Mrs. Potts, you of course have some big shoes, or in this case, teapots to fill. I mean, the legendary Angela Lansbury brought the world to life in the cartoon, and we should say that before she died, she actually recorded the opening narration for this new production.
Yes,
Not
so
to,
she's there with us every night.
yeah, yeah, not to mention that Beth Fowler was the first of many live actors to have taken on the role when she originated it on Broadway. How do you make it your own?
Well, because I have two kids of my own, I have a 14 and a 16-year-old girl, and my husband and I are parents. That was how I sort of approached it from the mom standpoint, because Mrs. Potts is Chip's mom, but she's also sort of a surrogate mom to the Beast. So anytime that I was coming at a scene, I tried to bring that sort of mom energy of loving and guiding and scolding when scolding needed to be scolded. And so that was sort of the way I came at it. And that's how I made it my own I know how to be a mom. I've been doing it for 16 and a half years now. And so I get to be Chip's mom and the Beast's mom to a degree, not to mention the fact that Cogsworth and Lumiere sort of think they run the house, but we know who actually runs the castle. And I try to bring that energy to it as well.
From my understanding, one of the biggest challenges the creative team faced when Beauty and the Beast was first being mounted on Broadway was how they were going to have all these enchanted objects played by live actors. Nan Holdward, who ended up winning a Tony for her costumes, also returned for this tour. What's your costume like to wear?
It is absolutely gorgeous. I get to be in this big white dress. The skirt of my dress is entirely sparkly, so it appeals to my inner Disney princess as well. But I do have the distinctive teapot arm handle, which I hold up using my own muscle. People keep asking me if there's some sort of a brace or if it's very stiff that it holds my arm up for me. But no, that is not true. So that's really the hardest part of my job is holding my arm up for 2 hours. And I also have the magic teapot that steams. So steam comes out of my teapot arm. I'm not allowed to tell you how, but that happens as well as needed. And so it's a delight. The costumes are beautiful. Not only my teapot costume, but Lumiere's candlestick costume is amazing, and Cogsworth's clock costume is gorgeous, marble looking costume. And Madame Lamour, that's one thing that has changed in our storytelling, is that she is not Madame Le Grand Bouche, she is Madame Lamour. So she is the wardrobe, but she's all about love and relationships and feeling, and played beautifully by Holly Ann Butler. And Babette, Cameron Thomas, our feather duster, also glorious. So it's a feast for the eyes as well as for the ears, our production.
And going back to the beginning, how did you first get started in the theater?
I saw the national tour of Les Mis when I was in high school, and I remember thinking Les Miserables was the most beautiful thing I had ever seen. And I didn't really do much singing apart from in church up to that point. I wasn't one of those young music theater loving kids. I didn't know enough about it. But from high school on, I was hooked, and I got a voice teacher and I got a couple songs together, and I auditioned for Shenandoah Conservatory, and that's where I went to school and got my Bachelor of Fine Art. And that's where I learned 85% of my music theater knowledge came from college. And then I started auditioning right out of school and got very lucky.
Well, yeah, and throughout your career, you've been fortunate enough to have been these big musical revivals with all-star casts, which began with your Broadway debut in the Trevor Nunn Helms revival of Oklahoma in 2002, which featured Patrick Wilson, Josefina Gabrielle, Schuler Hensley, Andrea Martin, and Ace of Monvey.
Yes, that was a delight to make my Broadway debut with Trevor Nunn directing and Susan Stroman choreographing. That was a thrill. And Warren Carlyle was her associate choreographer on that. And I've worked with Warren a couple times since then as well. So again, very, very lucky. Although my father-in-law used to say that luck is preparation plus opportunity. So I'd like to think that Shenandoah Conservatory prepared me, as well as my friend Mark Robin, who gave me my first job out of college. And so I had the preparation and then I had the opportunity.
Well, yeah, it almost reminds me of a line Cinderella has in Into the Woods, which is opportunity is not a lengthy visitor.
That is correct. Well done, Stephen Sondheim. Yes, that is true. So when the opportunity comes, you have to hope that you are prepared and ready. And I like to think that everyone I've worked with, I try to learn something from them, and I try to be a good company member and a good person to work with. So my best customers are my repeat customers.
Yeah, and the following season, you appeared in Roundabout's Theatre Company's revival of Nine, which opens with Antonio Banderas, Mary Stuart Masterson, Laura Benanti, Jane Krakowski, Mary Beth Peele, and Chita Rivera.
Chita Rivera, yes. Chita gets top billing there, but yes. For me. Anyway, I am such a fan of Chita Rivera. May she rest in peace. She's the kind of performer that we all should aspire to be, as well as Antonio Banderas, hardest working person in the room.
Oh, what was it like getting to be part of that show in particular?
That show was a thrill. I didn't know Nine very well before I auditioned for it, and I sort of crammed for it. But wow, I fell in love with Maury Yeston's gorgeous score and the remarkable storytelling. David Laveau, our director, really guided that production in such a cinematic and beautiful way. And I made some lifelong friends in that cast of amazing, remarkable, talented, wildly diverse women. I loved it.
Yeah, and your most recent Broadway appearance was in The Music Man, where you sort of made headlines early on the run because that's one,
Accidentally made headlines.
yeah, because at one of the very first preview performances, Sutton Foster was out sick with COVID, so you ended up going on as Marion Prue with very little time to prepare, and Hugh Jackman even gave you a special shout out at Curtain Call.
Yeah, I was thrilled that Hugh shone a light on what swings and standbys and Broadway covers actually do. Even my own family, who has seen me do a lot of swing work, a lot of standby work, and a lot of understudy work, got a little bit of an education of what a swing is on Broadway. And I'd love to tell you that mine was a particularly unique tale, but it wasn't. Broadway swings and covers and standbys go on without any notice all the time. The only thing that made it truly peculiar was the COVID the parameters that we were all forced to sort of work under meant a lot less actual face-to-face time on stage. We had no real a way to be backstage at that point because they were trying to keep numbers really low. So I knew absolutely none of the backstage traffic that I normally would have had a chance to figure out ahead of time. But he was a delight and such a collaborative, wonderful human that it all went very well. And he was super kind to shine a light on that crazy experience.
Well, yeah, I know. As that was the season where Broadway is coming back following its year-and-a-half shutdown, I guess
Yes.
you'd say swings, understays, and standbys really came to the rescue a lot.
And again, it was a pleasure to do so, and I'm super grateful for the experience. But I hope that that just started a dialogue of, wow, these people who do all the covering and keep the lights on are not just the swings and standbys, but everybody, all the backstage, all the crew, all the front of house. We all sort of link arms to make the show happen, and it's a joy to be a part of that community.
And you were actually previously in the Triangle area for North Carolina Theater's production of Elf, the musical, almost 2 years ago, and that sadly ended up being their final production, as they since not only went bankrupt, they have recently closed up shop.
I'm heartbroken that they are now closing their doors because it was such a beautiful place to work. That was the first time I worked there. And I know that they were trying to figure out some refinancing options at the time. So I think that they were already sort of trying to figure out how to keep the lights on. But I'm sad that it didn't because it was such a beautiful place to work. And Elf was a really terrific experience with my good friend, Sean Allen Krill and Max Shernan. We had a really lovely production, and I feel sad that that theater is no longer.
Well, yeah, and I actually spoke with Sean prior to that, and he, of course, told me about your long history of doing shows together.
Yes, we've been friends since 1996. So it's been a long while.
In any case, how do you look back at your time doing that show?
Oh, it was a thrill, and the audiences couldn't have been warmer or more lovely. It's always a tragedy when a theater has to close its doors, and I think that COVID hit so many of our regional theaters so hard that if there's anything that I would say to the theater lover is go buy a seat to a regional theater, go buy a seat to a high school production, go support your local theaters, not just the production contracts and the Broadway shows that come through, but try to go support your local symphony, support your local community theater, because we all are beneficial to all the communities, not just the Broadway shows that come through. We are grateful every time you buy a ticket to that as well. But it's so important to keep theater from the ground up. Go buy a ticket to your local elementary school, go buy a ticket to your local community theater. All of it helps support the arts because without art, what are we?
Especially at a time like this where the arts are even under more attack thanks to our government.
Yes, it breaks my heart a little bit. So the most that we can do is try to keep the lights on at all of the theaters, ground level, all levels.
And for those who'd like to pursue a career in the theater, where do you think would be a good place to start?
I think the local level is the place to start to figure out if that's what you love, 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 because the arts are not easy. Art isn't easy. I'll quote Sondheim again for you.
Mhm.
To know that you have to do it. I had one professor in college say, if I can talk you out of the arts, you don't belong in the arts because it is too unstable and too hard. But if it's something that your heart and soul and brain demand you, compel you to do, then go for it. And the way to do that is to do it at every level. When I first started out, I was doing children's theater in the morning and an evening show, an 8 show night, and a dinner theater in the evening. And I was working the longest, hardest hours, and I loved every second, even though I was making $1.50. So that's how I knew that that's probably what I should be doing because even when I was scraping by, I was happiest when I was performing in the arts.
And Kathy, I thank you very much for devoting your time to this conversation. It was great getting to talk to you.
Lovely to talk with you as well.
And for those who'd like to keep up with your career, where can people find you on the internet?
I'm Kathy Voytko on Instagram, And that's sort of my only social media because I cannot keep up with that hardly even because, again, I'm a full-time working actor and a mom.
Well, yeah, less
And
is
wife
more.
and dog mom. But yes, on Instagram. And I also am at kathyvoytko.com is my website, which I try to update as often as I'm able to. But right now, catch me anywhere with Disney's Beauty and the Beast musical on tour for the next year and beyond.
Be sure to catch Beauty and the Beast at DPAC. It'll be running from September 2nd through 14th. You can find more information through a link in the episode notes. So thanks again for joining me today, Kathy. This was
Oh,
great.
thank you so much for having me.